Yeah, people, welcome back again in Dortmund, Newcastle Media out here again. UEFA Champions League match day 5, Oh, whole lot of things happening over there in Paris, man. People, big up on yourself. Good day to everyone. Good night, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. Yeah, Newcastle Media here present the UEFA Champions League match review, match day 5. But, whole lot of stuff happened, in Paris, the referee, the World Cup referee, Simon, forgot his name. I think his name, Simeon, Mary Snake, the Polish referee. What a brave call from him, for him and his VAR team, to give that, hold on. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, to give that penalty call, man, to give PSG that edge to come back in the game. But a few teams already qualified for the UEFA Champions League, since match day 4, Man City, Leipzig, Bayern, Real Madrid, Inter, Sociedad, all those teams already qualified, since match day 4, but they have been joined by our next 4 team, Atletico, Lazio, and Dortmund, and Barcelona, team from Catalonia up there in Spain, beating, Port FC Porto, in the Stadio Olimpico of Spain, that Olympic Stadium. But can't wrap my head around that 3-1, that 3-1 victory in Milan. Still can't wrap my head around that. How Milan have lost, I think, one game in they lost one game in 16, against German clubs at home. Dortmund have a really poor record against Italian teams whenever they played away in European competition. The last time I think, Dortmund won a game, in Italy. I think it was Udinese in the UEFA Cup 2008. But big win for the German club. Shakhtar Donetsk, big win for them. They beat Royal Antwerp. They one game away from qualifying for the UEFA Champions League knockout round, as they are going neck and neck with FC Porto. I think both of them is at 9 points. We're going to get into that. I think, yeah, what in France, was it a handball? Was it really a handball, to be honest? What did the VAR doing? I think the last replay that they showed just after the referee gave his final decision, about the penalty, when he gave it, they showed another angle of the handball. And but they're saying that, even though they said, the handball rule is like, once it deflect and hit your hand, it's not supposed to be a handball. But, there's another thing again, another twist to it, where they're saying that if your hand is not in a natural position, but ligamento is about to move off. So, the moment you start to move, your hands is what give you balance as a sportsman, so his hands will his hand is always be away from his side, and I just can't see why that is a penalty. These handball rule and these law in the book, and I heard again it's about to change the end of the season next year coming. Hell broke loose again, man, with FIFA and their, the handball rule in UEFA, PG, MOL, what's his name? Famous referee in England, Howard Webb, I don't know what the hell is really going on, in football. But, at 2 games played, at 12, I would say 12:45 Eastern time, first 2 early games played. I think one of those games, I think it was Atletico. No, it's not. It wasn't Atletico. I think one of those games was Shakhtar Donetsk and Lazio and Celtic. Those are the early games that played today. But going to move on, right into the group stage. Going to move on right into the group stage. Group H, Lazio, Lazio won that game, in the Stadio Olimpico 2-0, against Celtic. Again, Lazio beat Celtic in both ties in this group. I think the first leg finish, Lazio won that game 2-1 in Glasgow, in Scotland. But again, Celtic have their moment, where that, they could have easily get themselves back into the game. But I just feel like, the Scottish team is lacking that cutting edge up front. But the man that who got bench, Ciro Immobile, that's why he is the highest scoring player for Lazio in their club history. That's why they paid him all the big bucks. The man that got bench, he scored a penalty at the Salernitana, you know, Cervantes to a team, he didn't play, but Salernitana beat them 2-1 in the Serie A over the weekend, and they decided that they're going to bench, their captain, and he decided that, he's going to come on and prove his point, tell the people why his name is Ciro Immobile, and he came on and scored a brace, for the Rome team and won the game, and they are through, they are through. They and Atletico Madrid is true and are tapping. They will play the last game, of that group match day 6, so whoever win that game will advance, and top. In UEFA Champions League, you always want to be in part 1, as you're going to play the least favorite team, in the round of 16, but really good goals, if you could see that second goal that Ciro Immobile scored, really good goal, how he beat the defender from outside in, cut it back on his left foot, and, Joe Hart stood no chance, he stood no chance to score that goal. But, the other fixtures, in Group E, Atletico Madrid, they traveled to Netherlands in Rotterdam to beat Feyenoord 3-1, 2 goals, scored by Feyenoord own goals, It's weird, they scored 2 goals and themselves, but the Spanish man, the defender, Hermoso, he's the one that got the only goal, for Atletico. The rest, as I said, 2 own goals, but I think Atletico was leading, this group, this game 2-0, and, even the Mexican striker, Jimenez Santiago, he scored an own goal, on his own team, he scored at the wrong hand. What's going on, amigo? But really love to see how Atletico Madrid is playing. Atletico Madrid is really on top form. They be squeezing up behind, Real Madrid and Girona. And, I think they are in 3rd position in the La Liga race, over Barcelona. And, who they play next in the La Liga? They play Barcelona next in the La Liga. But in this game, Atletico Madrid plays some really counter-attacking football. Griezmann, I feel like, in terms of intelligence, and how this player is really playing on top of his game, age is showing that Griezmann is getting more mature. His time in his run, his position awareness on the pitch. It's so wonderful to see. And, he could play anywhere behind the striker. Atletico Madrid, they just kick Feyenoord off the field on the counter. I think they made an attack, I think just after the second half, I think 5 minutes into the second half, they made a wicked counter attack, but it didn't score. Rodrigo de Paul almost scored, but Atletico Madrid is this team, defend very well, don't really concede a lot of goals, sit back and just time their run and pick their moment how they go forward. But, fear not, who always want to win in this tie, to keep themselves in the UEFA Champions League, keep themselves in Group E. They will always come out and attack. But, the Brazilian Praxio, he couldn't do anything. His name Timber, he's playing the midfield. Just couldn't do nothing. Atletico Madrid came out, really strong, in this game. But the big game, though, it will be at the match day 6, though, who will top the zone. But the first fixtures between those two teams, Atletico and Lazio, I think Atletico found themselves back in the game. Was it? But I knew it draw 1-1 in the Stadio Olimpico in Rome, but I don't remember if I think it was Atletico Madrid came back to draw that game. But this game will play at the Wanda Metropolitano, so both teams will be looking to finish on top. As I said, it's really important to finish in part 1. of the UEFA Champions League. So next up, Barcelona, for Atletico Madrid. Big match next week. Sunday coming, I think 3 p.m. Eastern time. But I'm going to move on to the big group of death. This is where all the action happened today. All the crazy stuff. AC Milan, lost at home. AC Milan is on a poor on a farm. AC Milan only won one game in their last 4 Italian Serie A. Dortmund, since they lost that game, that first game match they won away in Paris, they haven't lost a game ever since. They have unbeaten, in the last 4 Champions League game. So, they showed their talent, they showed why they named Dortmund, they showed why they carry the yellow wall everywhere they go. As I said in my introduction, but Dortmund, they don't have the best of luck playing against Italian teams away in the European trophies. They have won only 1 game out of 5. So let's see what Dortmund can do in the knockout round. Dortmund qualified. But it will be neck and neck. Between PSG, Newcastle. And AC Milan. 3 teams are still fighting for that second position. Second position and the Europa League position is still up to grab. Forgot to say, Feyenoord is already out. Feyenoord is already out of UEFA Champions League. They are qualified for the Europa League. Celtic is out. They are 1 point. Feyenoord is on 6 points. But that game started really crazy though in Milan as Giroud missed that penalty, and then right after, I think 5 minutes after, the young Englishman got kicked down in the box. I think his name is Gianni Bitan, and Marco Reus, the German, who has to step up, and score that goal. But the Nigerian, got back things and level chart between the two teams. Wonderful solo goal from the Nigerian. Is Chukwueze. If I'm pronouncing his name really good, as this player name is so hard to pronounce. But from there, Dortmund just looked the better team. They started to knock the ball around really fast, but could see AC Milan is struggling with some injuries. Their talisman, Rafael Leao is still out, injured. He out for some time now. But, Captain America is hiding. He didn't do anything in the game today. Christian Pulisic. But AC Milan, going to have to just be focused. I think AC Milan just need to take their eyes off European football this campaign coming up, and just solely focusing on how to qualify back for the UEFA Champions League, as they have quite a few players out injured, to be honest. Milan though, on the other side, Milan, before this game, Milan only lost 1 game out of 16. No, they lost 1 in 16. This is their first defeat in many fixtures along the way, against German clubs at home. They won 11 and they drew 4. So it's not Milan have a really good record against German teams at the San Siro, but this time Dortmund was the better team at the end, as they won this one 3-1. But Oliver Giroud going to have to be more prolific, on his penalty. I think AC Milan is having trouble, at the spot this season. And I watch a game, I think they missed a couple penalties, kick at the spot, in the league action. But but the big one, man, in France, the big one, that last goal in the 97th minute, 98th minute of the game, 8 minutes at the time, in the game, I was watching the game and I was like, oh, where the hell 8 minutes came from? But this game, it was more like Newcastle was just sitting behind. I mean, they picked their moment, how they will attack, Paris Saint-Germain team. But if you ask any Newcastle fans, or if you ask probably the players before a ball even kick in this game, would you go to Paris and take a points after they smash, Paris Saint-Germain just a month and a half, 2 months ago, at St. James Park, 4-0. But I feel like the way all this game played out, that dribble, by the Englishman, Livramento from left back, and gave the man they call Meggy, Almiron that ball, and Isak, the man that was injured a month ago, scoring back-to-back, scored against Chelsea, scored against Paris Saint-Germain, really on top form, the Swedish striker. This is his ninth in all competition, but it was more likely defense versus attack in this game. This game was more likely defense against attack. Probably, the last 55 minutes of this game. Yeah, probably about that. Newcastle just been sitting so deep. Four blocks at four. Right in front, right behind the ball. Telling PSG to come at them, try to break them down. And Nick Pope, he had a stellar game between the two sticks. He saved some ball. I think Dembele had a chance where he could have scored, but Nick Pope stood firm, and he ished that one away. But what's next? What's next in Group F? That's what I'm saying. What next for Group F? As PSG is on 7 points. PSG will travel. PSG will travel to Germany to play Dortmund, and Newcastle will host AC Milan. AC Milan. Can AC? I don't know, man. Can AC Milan get that 3 points? Let's see. Let's see if AC Milan can get that 3 points, at home versus Newcastle. No, they will travel away to Newcastle at St. James Park. But I'm going to move on to the next one, Group G. This is the group where Manchester City and RB Leipzig, they are the qualified. They're just tugging it out who is going to finish on top. And Manchester City is 5 from 5, 15 points. Man City were down 2-0 today. 2-0 before Haaland set the comeback in the 54th minute. Haaland, people, the youngest striker to score, the youngest striker to score 40 goals at the quickest. I think he did it in some 30-something games. The youngest striker to reach 40 goals, in the Champions League. He scored 12 goals on RB Leipzig in his career, more than any other clubs did against RB Leipzig in the head-to-head fixtures. Erling Haaland is just a goal machine, man. He's just a goal machine. This player, he just built to score goals. But as he rallied the comeback, for Manchester City to win the game 3-2. He scored that goal in the 54th minute. Then, Foden equalized, and Julian Alvarez, the World Cup winner, got the winning goal for the English team. But first off, that ball, the first goal, that Openda scored, it was one solo kick out from the goalkeeper. I never seen Manchester City conceded a goal like this before. It's this ball, I think it was an assist from the keeper. And Openda, he scored against them in the reverse fixtures in Leipzig, and he scored twice on City ground. So this player, he just loved to play City, but RB Leipzig, I don't know what happened in the last half an hour of the game. They just sit back and allowed City with all the possession, all the timing. They just said, just come at us. If RB Leipzig win this game, if they win this game by 3 clear goals, they would have sitting in the driver's seat in top position, looking to finish on top, coming match day 6. But the next 2 teams, in this group is Young Boys. The game that game played in Switzerland and the AstroTurf. Young Boys beat Red Star Belgrade from Serbia 2-0. I predict this result. I said it's either 2-0. It's going to be a 2-1. And it was 2-0 victory, as both teams are. It's just a tug of war for who to qualify for the Europa League in Group G, as Young Boys is on 4 points. And RB Red Star Belgrade is on 1 point. So Young Boys, got that Europa League spot, and they are the qualified. I think and head-to-head tie. I think that game they drew in Serbia, it was 2-2. So yeah, they won 2-0 at home. So yeah, they are ahead on head-to-head tie. So yeah, the Serbian team will be out. That will be curtains after their match day 6 game in the Uefa Champions League. That will be curtains for them in the European Trophy this season. But We're going to move on from group, going to move on from group G, to group H. That's the last group. But, Red Star Belgrade, they haven't kept a clean sheet, in 12 games. So it says a lot. They just always conceding goals. The average goal they concede a game is 2.3. So they've been known for like conceding goals. No, but it's a really tough place to go and play football in Serbia. This place kind of similar, to Istanbul, what United going to face tomorrow, against Galatasaray. So Group H, Group H with Barcelona, FC Porto, Shakhtar Donetsk, Royal Antwerp, yet to win a game. I think, and yet to get off the mark. They haven't won a game. I think they are the only team and Benfica who haven't got off the market. Benfica have lost all 4 games in the UEFA Champions League this season. That's crazy. Really big team like Benfica. It's a really good team. But Barcelona have beaten FC Porto in the Olympic Stadium in Spain. Guess who scored both goals? Joy Felix and Joy Cancelo scored, and they both players used to play for Benfica. Benfica and FC Porto have that rivalry, going. It wasn't a pretty scene, in the away section for the FC Porto fans seeing that Joy Felix and Joy Cancelo, scoring against them, in the UEFA chat. But FC Porto was trying to get that win. I think FC Porto, missed the opportunity in the first half. They should have killed the game off in that first half. That's where they play the most. That's where they create the most chances, in the first half. But they didn't. They didn't took the opportunity. I think that striker Tamari, I think he is an Iranian. I think he's an Iranian striker. Taremi, Taremi, he's from Iran. He got a goal and he scored one, but they chopped it off. But the Brazilian Ivanson, he couldn't do anything today. But in the second half, Barcelona showed their talent. Barcelona showed their dominance. And Pedri came up to the fold and assist that goal. Joy Felix to give them, that clinical spot. That second goal given the comfort, the driving seat, of this group. But Barcelona is through, but FC Porto is not there as yet. Shakhtar Donetsk, the team from the Donbass area in Ukraine. I love this team. The story that this team is having. What happened to their country. Big up to the Ukraine people, man. They deserve all of this. They won. They beat Royal Antwerp. As Shakhtar Donetsk is playing all their Champions League group stage games in Hamburg. They won the game 1-0. Goals scored by Mativenko. That was a wonderful header. In the 12th minute, and really good team. Royal Antwerp yet to come off the mark. I think this is their debut season. In the UEFA Champions League. But that's it. That's it for all the groups. But the big one though, the penalty. When I first saw it live before they start to look at the replay, I was like, maybe it looks as if like it's a penalty because the ball came across and his hand was not in a natural body position. And when I look at it, the replay finally slowed down, and then VAR taking a look at it, the referee went over to the screen. And I would love, I love to see VAR, give the referee the best angles. Don't wait until the referee make his final decision. Then you're going to show back a replay and give the best angle that the referee could have possibly used to judge it, to see whether the ball deflect, whether it hit his elbow first, But the footage that the referee saw, you could clearly see that it is a deflected ball to hit the player on his elbow. But I don't know, man. This handball rule is getting frustrated. It's getting out of hand. I feel it for the Jardis fans. I feel it for the Newcastle players, man. As Newcastle, is looking to get their first away win in a UEFA Champions League group stage for the first time since 2002. That game they played away, in Feyenoord. That game was on my birthday, November the 13th, 2002. That game, Craig Bellamy scored a brace to bring Newcastle through to the knockout round for the first time, but it just didn't come. They drew that game, and they're going to play AC Milan at home. But nevertheless, they're still in it. Newcastle still in it. They're still in it. They're going to give themselves a good shot, to qualify. If they probably could finish, for a Europa League spot, it still would be, a best position for Newcastle. But with the amount of injury that Newcastle is having, I feel like, Eddie, if he's not going into the Champions League round of 16, why not just scrap the European trophy, and just call it a day, and just focus, on to qualify back for, the UEFA Champions League in the league. But Callum Wilson is out late December, hamstring injury. Dan Burn late January, Anderson early January, back injury. Kraft, the defender's illness. Harvey Barnes late December, ankle injury. Jacob Murphy shoulder injury late January. So most of their injuries are really a couple months away, for players to really get back fully fit. Will Achilles tendon injury, doubtful. Probably is going to miss the game on the weekend also. Both man will be out. I think both man will be back as soon as probably 2 weeks from now. And then suspension for Tonali as, breach gambling issue, in Italy. But PSG, this PSG team is not really playing. This PSG team is not really playing good football. PSG midfield is so poor. Fabian Ruiz, I think the Korean player, and Manuel Ugarte, the Uruguayan. I don't think this is a really good midfield, for PSG to support Kylian Mbappe. But I feel like this team is just solely dependent on Kylian Mbappe and Kolo Muani and Gonçalo, Ramos, the Portuguese striker, both striker Muani and Ramos. I feel like it is like a burial ground, for strikers since the departures of like Ibrahimovic, Edison Cavani, El Matador. Most strikers that going in this PSG team, I mean, Kylian is not really a striker, Messi is not really a striker, and Neymar is not really a striker, but the striker just struggle to score goals, as they don't play like you see when Edison Cavani, the off-the-ball movements is wicked, his link-up play is wicked, but Kolo Muani and Ramos, Gonçalo Ramos, they just played stagnant football. They not really. Muani is really good. He can run off the shoulder, but I don't think he have the players that can give him the ball. Those creative sparks in the midfield. PSG have the likes of Vitina, Asensio. They're big players out. The young kid, and they have Soler, Emery Zaire. The young Frenchman. PSG is going through Zaire Emery. This team is going through some little injury crisis. Zaire Emery, Kimpembe, Nuno Mendes, Marquinhos, Navas. Lot of injured players. The keeper Rico, but Donnarumma here. I think that goal that Isak scored, I think Donnarumma could have done better. I think he could have done better with that ball, to be honest. He pushed that ball back into the 6-yard box, and kudos to Alexander Isak. He's a real number 9 goal. As soon as the keeper make a mistake, you punish him. Newcastle deserve that. Newcastle picked their moment how they attack PSG. You could see that Eddie Howe, solely, wanted a point or a result out of this game. But the way this game panned out, and Mbappe scored that penalty kick in the 98th minute. It's just heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking for them to see that they got the game right down to the last minute, and then that penalty. But One of my biggest surprise, of match day 5 for the Tuesday games is Dortmund going away to beat AC Milan. That game, I really surprised. I mean, AC Milan haven't played really good. As I said, they only won one game in their last 4 in the Serie A, so they somewhat, trying to find a win. They drew with Lecce. They drew with Lecce. I think that game played in the San Siro. You know, no, that game played away. That game played away to Lecce. You can't draw 2-2 away to Lecce. When you needed a point to keep up the title race, with your bitter rival Inter Milan. Inter Milan already qualified, for the knockout round, and you saw what Inter did away to Juventus. They got that point. Big point. Inter is not playing good themselves, but Inter is getting the results. That's what needed. And another Italian team, Lazio. So I would love to see, Napoli. I think Napoli are also true. I think Napoli is also true to the knockout round. No, Napoli is not yet. They just need 1 point to qualify. So all three, Lazio, AC, Milan, and Napoli, and Inter Milan, those 4 teams, I would love to see 4 teams go through from Italy, but, AC Milan is in a little bit of a doubt to qualify. Tomorrow game is a big one. United will travel to football L. That's what they call it in Istanbul. Football is hell, man. Travel to the Red Hat Stadium in Istanbul. And the Gunners, they're home to Lens. Their group is really tight. They're really tight right now. But match day 6, for the Tuesday, biggest takeaway was that 3-1 victory, for Dortmund, and that penalty showed, from that referee, very experienced referee. I think they said he ref the FIFA, he ref in the FIFA World Cup final. It's very harsh, very harsh. But one of the biggest thing I'm looking forward though to see in match day 6, Shakhtar Donetsk. I'm looking to see Shakhtar Donetsk play FC Porto in Portugal. That's the game I'm really looking for, because if Shakhtar can get 3 points, they will qualify for the knockout round. They will qualify for the knockout round, but it's not a pretty easy. It's not an easy road for Shakhtar over the years playing FC Porto, as they lost in Hamburg against them 3-1. Shakhtar scored in that game and gave up 3 goals. But head to head, lost that last game 3-1, 1-1, 2-2. FC Porto win. FC Porto win. So yeah, FC Porto is the better team. Head to head, Shakhtar have never beaten FC Porto. So that's one of the game I'm really looking forward to seeing match day 6 coming next month. Game Shakhtar. Which other group is really looking interesting? Group F. I'm looking forward to see if AC Milan can get that victory at St. James Park, and hope Dortmund can beat PSG, and AC Milan can qualify. But the next game, Atletico Madrid and Feyenoord are qualified as playing for top of the table clash. But tomorrow, Union Berlin, Union Berlin will play away to Braga. Union Berlin is really struggling. Union Berlin, they haven't won a game since August the 28th. That was Darmstadt 4-1 victory. From August the 28th, August the 26th, they haven't won a game in Union Berlin again. They had a like 9 to 10 games losing streak. They got that draw in the Diego Armando Maradona Stadium against Napoli. Napoli didn't whistle off the stadium. That's why Napoli are not true, because they drew that game against Union Berlin, and Union Berlin drew Saturday against Augsburg. But can Union Berlin beat Braga in Germany and try to get that Europa League spot? Did Leonardo Bonucci, did Leonardo Bonucci, what would I say? Would say regret going to Union Berlin, after that crazy, season that they had last campaign. Now they're struggling, haven't won a game. Since then they haven't won a game in the Champions League. They only drew, and that was the last match day 4. But I'm looking forward for that game, against Braga. To be honest, that will be tomorrow. If they beat Braga, they will go ahead of Braga in that Europa League, section for the third spot. Braga is on 3 points. Union Berlin is on 1 point. But Real Madrid and Napoli, any result, Napoli will go through, even though, they're on 7 points, still not mathematically go through as yet, but 12 points for the Madrid team. And I think Madrid will rest some players, tomorrow, because Madrid is going through some limbos. Madrid will have that game on the weekend against Granada and then away to Betis. That will be a big one, and Benfica will play at home, to Inter Milan tomorrow. Benfica haven't won a game. Di Maria, all these players, haven't won a game. All these really good players, in their Benfica setup. Even though they won that derby, a couple of weeks ago against Sporting Lisbon. But Di Maria, Ja Mario, and the striker Moussa Otamendi, the Brazilian center half Morato, so many good players, and yet they can't win a game, in the UEFA Champions League this season. They will play at home, but RB Leipzig, RB Salzburg, will travel away to Spain to play Real Sociedad, who is already through, to the knockout round. Both Inter and Sociedad are through, but people, wrap up the local UEFA Champions League recap. Tomorrow I won't be here at this time tomorrow. I will do a pre-record and upload on Thursday. Work hours for tomorrow won't let me be available for the Champions League recap tomorrow. So 2 games early tomorrow. The United game 12:45. Galatasaray versus United and Sevilla versus PSV. That game will play in Spain. But yeah, some quite intriguing. But that big game still will be United tomorrow, away in Istanbul. And Group B, all action, all action will happen in Group B and Group A. Arsenal group, no one is yet to tick off their box for the UEFA Champions League knockout round. But playing home to Lens, Arsenal, I think Arsenal is favored to get a result in that game. But yeah, people, remember Arsenal lost that game in France against Lens 2-1. But this is the UEFA Champions League recap, man. The kind of media was people. Bless up to everyone that's passing through. Don't forget, on your way out, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed as yet, click that subscription bell. One of the best way, to improve a YouTube channel, just by like, share, and subscribe. And comment. Tell me what you guys think. All United fans. Are you scared about Galatasaray coming up against Wilfred Zaha, Torreira, Icardi, all these players, only I think they have a couple good midfielders. This Galatasaray team is really good, Seeing them play away, in Munich when Hurricane stunned them with a brace. They played so good. Zaha, Ziyech, Torreira. They have 2 really good Turkish midfielders, Hayhem, I can't pronounce that other name. They have the ex-City man, Angelino, and they have the Spurs flop, Davidson Sanchez, and they have the French right back, Sacha Boey, the man that scored a wonderful goal at Copenhagen. I think it was in match day 1. And the veteran keeper from Uruguay, Muslera. He's been there for so many years, the 37-year-old. he's had 479 games, for Galatasaray, and he scored one. He's been there since 2011, man. Muslera, he's a Galatasaray legend. He's a Uruguayan legend. 133 games for Uruguay. He retired in March. But people, bless up, going to be out